Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, and joining me today, we have Martin Sharp, founder of Sharp Fit for Life. So Martin completely transformed his life. He shed 60 kilos. He got fit, he got focused, and now he's climbed Kilimanjaro. He's run back-to-back marathons, and every time I see him on the socials or in the press, he's doing something amazing and adventurous. So by now, Martin has reached a global audience of more than 2 billion with over 450 media placements on the BBC, the GQ, Mirror, MSN, and so many more just over the past couple of years. And he's here with us today to talk about that journey into his visibility and what that has meant for him as a person and for his brand. It's so fantastic to have you on, Martin. So first of all, will you just explain to the audience who you are and what exactly it is that you do?
Hi, Luana. Yes, of course. It's brilliant to be here as always. So, my name is Martin Sharp. I've been a career enterprise architect for about 30 odd years until actually I found that career put me into a position where I wasn't looking after my own body. I became incredibly overweight. Weighed in at 154 kilos, which is 24 and a quarter stone, or 340 pounds, depending on which way you want to look at it. It's still heavy. And it developed like a waistline of 54 inches. I did what everyone says in the fitness industry to do. So I went and tried to eat less, move more, got myself a gym membership, even got myself a diet plan, etc. And the thing what I found was it didn't make any difference. In fact, it didn't make any difference for about 5 years. Until I was in a conference chatting to one of the delegates there, amazing chap. You know, when you meet someone, you think, actually, they look fantastic. They were really well dressed, really well chiseled features. And you're kind of thinking, that person really looks after themselves. And I got to know Pete really well. He was a very busy, successful businessman. And I was just asking the question, how did you manage to keep yourself looking amazing while being so busy? Because I was struggling. I really was. I mean, I was traveling all around the world, delivering some things like $16 billion digital asset transfers, doing things like airport purchases for organizations, helping with other mergers, acquisitions and divestments with regards to structuring their plans and things. And I really was struggling. He says, well, don't do it the way the fitness industry tells you to do it. He says he got himself an online coach. He started to work with him and everything started to work okay. And he said, the best part is I brought my coach as my plus one to this event. And I'm thinking, this is serendipity or what, right? And so I got chatting with his coach, and his coach, just picture a Greek god, like an Adonis, yeah? He was an ex-bodybuilder. He had muscles in all the right places, as you can probably imagine. I mean, I had a figure like a god, but it's more like a Buddha. And so I got chatting to him, and he just said to me, one thing you need to do is if you want your change to succeed, you need to pin it back to what you really value in life. And I kind of thought, actually, that's really profound. But what do I really value in life? What is the things that actually I get out of bed for each and every day? And I sat and I thought about it, and I kind of realized it was just three things, three really simple things. I love working with clients. They are like my beloved adversary because, they challenge me. They bring me some great things that they want to do. And it means that I have to grow and I have to be creative. I have to come up with ideas of how to make them be able to succeed. And they do. They want the successes, right? And the other thing I thought, well, actually, I enjoy spending time with my friends. I go on some zany adventures. Who else goes around the world making giant snow sculptures like 7 and 10 meters tall in all sorts of different places, or decide it's a great idea to strap an outboard motor to a kayak or something like that. And so I thought, I want to still be enjoying time with my friends. I really value them. And also my family. I love my family. I want them to use me as a springboard to their greatness. I want them to really enjoy life and be enriched by life. And then kind of sat back and thought, but if I don't sort what I'm doing, then that's not going to happen, because My family is probably not the best genetic makeup. In fact, I think if we were racehorses, we'd probably be shot by now. Because my dad's got fibromyalgia, diabetes, has had a few bouts of cancer. Where we lost his twin brother, my uncle, to pancreatic cancer a few years ago. And we lost, we've had lots of different cancers in the family. And I kind of thought, actually, if I don't remedy myself, I'm going down the same route. It won't be too long. In fact, my brother, 2 years younger than me, he's already started with diabetes and fibromyalgia. So I sat back and I thought, okay, that's what I value, because if I don't fix this, I can't spend the time with my clients because I'm never going to have the energy to be able to do it. I certainly won't be able to go on the zany adventures with my friends or help them when they need help. And it's nice to be able to help your friends. Would you agree? Yeah. But the biggest kick was thinking about my family and thinking, actually, I'm not going to be able to help them. I'd become like a millstone around their neck, not a springboard to their greatness. And that I really couldn't have. So I set to work. I had the coach. We started working on fitness. He taught me all sorts of things about what you do in the gym and things. I started to learn more about the body and the mind and how it actually really works. And suddenly started to realize there's a whole load of similarities between how you change and transform your mind and actually how you change and transform a business. So things like, for example, stress management is so similar to risk management in business. Actually building a plan for how you can change your whole body and change your life and your lifestyle is so similar to building a transformational plan for changing a business. So I started to apply the things I've been doing for decades into doing this. And you know what? Space of 18 months, things started to change. I'd gone from being 154 kilos down to 94 kilos, which is 24 and a quarter stone to 14 and a half stone, or pounds down to 207 pounds. I had a waist that shrank down to 32 inches. And I felt fabulous. It was absolutely fantastic. Not only that, a friend of mine challenged me and says, if you can manage to lose some weight, we're going to go on a photo shoot. We're going to do one of those muscle photo shoots. So if you can imagine, when I was at my largest, this was not something I thought would be a good idea. I was dreading it, to be frank. But we went and we did it, got some great photos. In fact, I got a modelling contract off the back of it, which I would never imagine.
Oh.
Can you imagine that? And and I just feel fantastic. I love what I'm doing, and I've just been pushing that further and further. So since then, I've been doing things like marathons, I've been climbing mountains, continue to have some great adventures with friends. But other friends have kind of noticed, and they said, well, what did you do? What's been so different? We've been trying to do this kind of thing for years, and I started to teach them, what I had done and show them and coach and mentor them through it. And they were getting the great results. And then one of the ladies, Gemma, she was a young single mum, and she was struggling to get rid of the postpartum weight, and then she was struggling with mental health and all sorts of other things. And we managed to get to a point where she was loving life. She felt like she could make healthy meals for her and her daughter. No, her and her son, sorry, her little one. Also, she did things like she'd rejoined doing things like the local ladies cricket team, a thing she hadn't done since secondary school, a thing that she used to love. And all of a sudden, putting herself first in these little places, she found made a big difference in her career, in running her business, and also in her building her life with her son as a single mum. And she just turned around to me and says, Martin, you've got to tell more people about this. So that's why I started this business, which is Sharp Fit. And I've just loved it. I've loved being able to have an impact in so many people's lives, being able to motivate them, being able to give them that inspiration. And also, it puts a mirror up sometimes, because, it's so easy to say, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I've got too much on, or whatever else. And actually, when you look at other people and you think, that person, they're busy, they're still going around the world working with people all over the place, they're still doing major transformations, etc., but they're able to then work on themselves. And that can sometimes make a big difference, because all of a sudden you stop the excuses for yourself.
That's it. So how did you manage to keep yourself so motivated to create such an enormous change? Because I know from seeing you all over the socials and all over the media, I know that you are always up to something. You're always on a marathon, or you're climbing Kilimanjaro, or you're kayaking, or you're doing something else. How did you go from somebody... what was the motivation you needed to keep yourself on that track?
Yeah. So the kind of motivation to keep on the track is really about setting more goals. Because the thing is, when you don't have a goal in life, or I call them outcomes as opposed to goals, because a lot of people get confused. When you say goals, they kind of think the goal is, I'm going to eat healthy, or I'm going to go to the gym so many times a week, or I'm going to take some time to rest. And those are kind of almost the process goals that people go through. But actually having some big outcomes where you think, actually, this is what I'd really like to achieve. And some of them have to be great, big, hairy, audacious goals, things that you scare you, that you think, I don't even know if I can achieve them. Then all of a sudden it focuses your mind. And those moments where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be a bit weak, I'm not going to do whatever it is that you've set out to do, it brings you back to it and you say, okay, this is going to happen. And it's not to say that I am an angel in any way, shape or form. I will have the odd occasional drink. I absolutely adore ice cream. And there's all, I'm a human, okay? But what it means is, when I have maybe I go out for a drink with a friend, or maybe I have an ice cream with Sarah or the kids or something, I'll have just the one and it'll bring me back. And it's like, okay, I've had my moment. I can now move further forward. Or I understand actually now how I can actually fit them into my lifestyle so it doesn't impact things. And then I can utilize that fuel, that ice cream, for example, to be able to help fuel that next workout, to be able to help fuel that next run or whatever's coming up. So again, understanding how you can fit these things in can make a massive difference.
Amazing. And at the beginning, you were saying that you were trying everything and then you got a bit of advice that was, don't do what the fitness industry says. Well, what were the things that the fitness industry was saying that you know now not to be true?
Oh, crumbs, sorts of things. So, for example, the whole eat less, move more, that whole strategy piece, it leads you into some real dark places if you do that, because I ended up in a position, even when I was at my heaviest, where I dropped my calories to below 1,000 calories. And all that was happening is I was becoming more tired, more grumpy. My skin was going really grey. I was becoming really spotty. I was suffering from more illnesses and things. So, you take this advice thinking, okay, there's got to be the right thing, but it's not. And again, it's really how you then sort of think, well, what's the right thing to do? Or the other thing is, just to kind of throw loads of cardio in it, or go to loads of classes, etc. And don't get me wrong, for some people, cardio and exercise classes is probably the right thing, but it's not the only thing. And for some people, it's exactly the wrong thing, because what they do is they kind of go into it thinking it's the right thing to do. They kind of go really hard, and then all of a sudden they just burn out. They just get tired, they get worn out, and it's just created more stress in their life. And what happens then is they just stop. Now, with all these kind of strategies, all these kind of things that they put as ideas to work out, to get fit, etc., every time you quit at one, you reinforce the melanin pathways in your brain that reinforce you becoming a quitter. So it becomes easier to quit later on. Yeah. So as soon as you start quitting at one thing, you don't be surprised if you don't recognize you're quitting in lots of different places in your life, not just in fitness. It might be, for example, in work. It might be in social engagements. It might be in things you're doing at home. Because you kind of created these pathways in your mind that says, I'm a quitter. And,
interesting.
So it can be quite damaging. Yes, there's all those, and let alone when you start looking at things like the diets, etc. And again, I get the point. Restrictive eating of some form, whether that's time restrictive eating, like fasting, whether that's food restrictive eating, like for example going paleo or going vegan or whatever it is. It's a way of reducing the amount of food that comes into your body. But the thing is, it doesn't necessarily always address that part at the beginning of the process, which is what's in your head. So, for example, if you decide, I'm going to go keto. Yeah, so you're not allowed to eat cake, not allowed to eat cake, not allowed to eat cake. The thing is, your brain, you're trying to remind yourself not to eat cake, okay?
Doing cake.
Can't process negatives. So what you're actually telling your brain to do is eat cake.
That would make me want to eat cake.
Exactly. So all these things that you get told to do actually have absolutely the opposite result.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
So all of these insights you've got, you wanted to share them on a bigger scale. And so that's why you started Sharp Fit. That's why you started on the socials, speaking on stage, and then you went into the media. So talk us through what what prompted you to actually do that? What made you think, right, more people need to know about this. This is my purpose.
Well, as I said, it really was after doing this with loads of different friends, and specifically after Gemma just turned around and said those words to me, I thought, actually, she's right. You know, if you found, it's like, for example, if you found the answer as to, you know, how to be incredibly wealthy and you don't share that, or if you found the answer to cancer or you don't share that kind of knowledge, how mean and selfish are you being? How restrictive are you? How much are you actually now denying the world of something that's absolutely fantastic? And that's how I felt. You know, I felt actually, no, I've found now a solution that can work. I mean, it's not going to work for everybody. This is not the panacea. I'm not trying to say, you know, everyone has to do this. But for those people that are busy, those people that don't have a load of time, those people that are pressured because of stress, because of work, all those kind of things, those people probably can work with because, you know, they have those specific things. If you've got, for example, a severe medical problem, or you're potentially really overweight, obese, or you've got high diabetes or something, then this probably won't be the best thing for you. It might work, might not work. So I'm not saying this is universally for everybody, but for those people where it does work, it's brilliant. And that was the kind of the big thing, you know, don't be mean, share it.
Yeah, totally. Did you kind of feel like it was almost a sense of responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have any hesitations? You know, you've been working with us now at Dauntless PR. It's been a few years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, yes.
What were your hesitations before you started, you know, when you decided, right, I'm going to get this message out there on a bigger scale? What was going through your mind?
Crumbs. Well, we did do a few bits of PR ourselves. And mainly I did it around some of the adventures that we did. So around, for example, some of the snow sculpting. So we got in a couple of local press here. We got ourselves into the local radio once or twice, and we thought, okay, well, actually, let's try and step things up a little bit. So I was trying then to use same kind of tactics for Sharpfit and just get the knowledge out there. And it is a saturated market. There's a lot of people out there that are telling you about how to create a better lifestyle, how to move more, how actually movement is medicine, all those kind of lovely things. So the reality is you don't tend to get a lot of traction, especially if you don't know how to approach the press. And I think while we'd had a little bit of success in some areas, we definitely didn't know how to approach the press. And it was just us randomly trying things. You know, sometimes when you do random things, sometimes things stick, sometimes things don't, but there was no kind of consistency in it. There was no kind of process behind it. It was just like hope and a prayer, really. And if something happened, great. If something definitely happened, well, you're not really lost much. So, I got introduced to yourself, actually. We were at a business marketing event, I think, where we met originally, and got chatting and things. Thought you had a great idea kind of behind it. We had a conversation afterwards because there was a few things that we kind of just chatted about with regards to your approach, my approach and things. And I thought, well, yeah, let's join your community. Let's learn that bit more. And I did. I learned the process that you and Catherine and the rest of the team kind of go through. And we implemented that the following year. We did snow sculpting because I thought we've got some success in snow sculpting. Let's use that as the testing platform. And it was hard work. I will tell you one thing. Before I went snow sculpting, I was probably contacting like 50, 60 different journalists, etc., in various different places, or the people that kind of manage the teams with regards to radio. And they were asking for different things at different times, and you had to be really reactive because, again, they don't like to be held up. And then actually during the event, when we're not out there snow sculpting, which is what we're there for, I was spending most of the time like editing photos and videos and copy and all sorts of things to get it off to the. It was really, really hard. I mean, it was successful. Don't get me wrong. We had some really nice engagement from it. We got onto ITV, we got onto BBC, etc. So even just learning the skills from you and Catherine was just tremendous. Really was. But I kind of came away from that, and it was like, okay, we can't do that another year. It just doesn't work. There's too much to do for just me. And that's when we were chatting about that and just saying, because I was asking, is there an easier way? Is there a kind of almost like a preset process that I can go through without having to manage these like 50 or 60 different people desperate for your attention. And that's when you said, yeah, we offer a VIP service. And I thought, let's just go for it. And we did. And it's been fantastic. You've got yourself. I mean, I got introduced to a lot more of the team then, and everyone is just so friendly. They're on the ball. They've already built these relationships with people. So that's where, for example, you have a chat with the journalists at GQ, and it's like, okay, yeah, great. Okay. But Martin can help with that. And you'll already have a lot of the content for me. You've already kind of had those conversations, and therefore it's just an interview. It becomes such a simpler process. It's not the 50, 60 messages beforehand, or with Sports Illustrated or with BBC Radio or whatever it was. It was so smooth.
Oh, that's really good to know. And by now, you've reached an audience of over 2 billion just in these past couple of years, and you've had 450 placements. That's a lot of visibility. So mindset-wise, how did you deal with that?
I don't really think I was really thinking about it, to be honest with you. I kind of just get on with the day to day, as opposed to let these things kind of go to my head, because, the person in front of me, the person that I'm trying to help, that's the most important person when we're having those kind of conversations. So I don't think I've really kind of comprehended 2 billion people there. But, when you're speaking to hundreds or thousands that come in to have conversations with you, I can manage that. That's easy enough.
That is I couldn't think of a more Martin answer than that. I think like that humbleness that you've got is something that's really been a strength for you in PR, because you've never really thought of it as, I want PR because of this, I need it because of this. It's always been about what other people need. And so you go in with such an energy of wanting to give and share, and you're so open. And that is something that just gets you called back time and time again from all of these different places. So what kind of changes have you noticed have happened since you've increased your visibility with PR?
Crumbs. So kind of change we've seen more increase to things like our socials, more increase into things like our website. And I think that, again, is partially down to the content we're creating, and also partially down to the PR engagements. Because, again, your PR engagements, most of them will actually link back to you, which is great. I mean, it's fantastic to see your name up there when you've kind of given them some assistance and things. But then also it gives you something to talk about, which is like different to the norm. So we talk about, for example, the health, the fitness, the lifestyle, the mindset, how you can kind of create those rest periods in your life, all that kind of stuff you'd expect. Then we kind of show people what you can do with it, with the, the muscles, the mountains, the marathons, all those kind of lovely things. But then when you kind of have these messages that says, oh yeah, we did something with GQ, or yeah, we've got this out. What was Woman's Zone was one, I think. And sometimes it's a bit like, where did that come from? But people then say, I saw that piece you did there, and it's, oh, thank you, and it gives you a conversation starter. You can have a bit of a chat with people about it, and it's lovely.
How does that feel when people are coming up to you and they're saying, I saw you on TV and that kind of thing?
Oh, it's nice. I'm not going to deny it. Really, is nice. You kind of feel like this teeny tiny micro celebrity.
Well, you know that you're making a difference, don't you?
It does. And it's like, for example, with this year. I mean, last year, Sarah challenged me to do a 10K race with her. So I kind of said, yeah, no problem. Well, actually, it wasn't quite like that. She'd been saying she wanted to do a 10K race for about the last 10 years. And last year, I just said to her, just do it. Because it was on her birthday as well last year in York. I said, so, it's like the universe speaking to you. But she was still in I says, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll run it with you. I'll train with you. We'll do it together. And then kind of remembered I hate running. In secondary school, sports and running especially around the rugby pitch, was given to the kids that weren't the most sporty, and I was definitely one of those. And then I've got asthma. So, I have been hospitalised several times. Suddenly realising I'm going to have to fulfil my promise to do some running with my wife, was not the top of my agenda. So anyway, we kind of decided to start the running process after we came back from snow sculpting in Japan. The first 3 months were hell. They were absolutely awful, but continued to persevere at it. And my accountant even says, you should join parkrun. And it's like, I thought, okay, let's give it a try. And the first parkrun went, so it's only like a 5K run. Parkrun's great if anybody wants to start running. Beautiful environment, lovely people. But my first parkrun was like 40 odd minutes. And by the time we finished, it took me about 40 odd minutes to be able to drive the car afterwards. It wasn't great at the beginning, but things got nicer and easier, etc. And roughly about the same time as we were doing the York 10K, a few friends of mine had finished doing the London Marathon, and a friend said, well, why don't we join and apply for London Marathon? So we did. I didn't get in, but another friend of mine who had been giving me some running tips, Gabe, he's an ultramarathon runner, great guy, Texan actually. He said, why don't you come do the Milton Keynes Marathon with me next year? He says, it gives you plenty of time to train. It's a really nice event, small kind of venue, and it's really friendly. So I thought, yeah, that sounds nice. Let's do that. At least he gets the first marathon idea over the door. It's, again, big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And just gone from running a 10K to trying a marathon. So I said yes. That was the 5th of May this year. And then a couple of weeks later, the organisers of the York 10K dropped me a message saying, would you like to come run in Leeds Marathon? Now, Leeds is where my secondary school was, and I was kind of thinking it'd be nice to have a nice memory of running in Leeds rather than the school memories that I've got. So I applied. I got in. I thought, this is great. Probably should have looked at the small print. That wasn't that small. It was the date, and that was the weekend after. It was like 11th of May. And it's like, okay. So I rang Gabe. I says, am I going to be okay doing 2 marathons? And he says, yeah, you should be okay. He says, you're going to do the mileage anyway because you're going to be training for it. So he says, just pace yourself. You're not looking to do it for speed. You're looking to do it to finish it and to enjoy it. That's your 2 objectives. That's all you're going to do for these marathons. And I thought, yeah, that kind of marries up with my ethos of life. And about a week or 2 later, I got an email through from Teenage Cancer Trust. And as I was saying earlier, we've had lots of cancer in the family. And one was my cousin's daughter who got Hodgkin's lymphoma at the age of 14. Teenage Cancer Trust were amazing. But unfortunately, by the time she got to 19, after she'd qualified as becoming a nurse for Teenage Cancer Trust, she passed away. So I felt, actually, you can't say no. So I said yes. Anybody who knows from the date perspective, that's the weekend before the 27th of April, so it's the weekend before Milton Keynes. So all of a sudden, I've kind of been thrust these 3 marathons to do in 2 weeks, and I've never run a marathon at this point in time. In fact, I'd only been running for about 6 months. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to get out there. So I thought, right, what's the best way of keeping myself motivated to make this happen? Because obviously my wife is a big part of it. She was the kickstarter of it. I've obviously now got my friends behind me because they want this to happen. I'm raising money now for Teenage Cancer Trust to kind of make that happen. So it's like, okay, well, let's use the PR engine. Let's get even more people. Because the thing is, but for motivation, if you can stack the reasons why you need to do it as high as you possibly can, then all of a sudden it's like standing on this mountain of people that want you to do it. It's like this great will that like drives behind you. So when you're having those days where it's wet, windy, cold, as you're going out for a training run in the middle of winter, it doesn't matter because you're thinking, actually, no, I cannot let down my wife. I cannot let down my friends. I cannot let down the teenagers that are going to need this, that are going through this awful regime at this point in time, and the amount of good that that's going to bring. I can't let down the public, effective, that have been listening to me on the radio or read the articles. And people, they do come out from all over the place. I was going for a run, actually I was going for a run locally here, and the local plumber, she came up to me, while I was running, and she handed me this envelope and said, here, this is for the Teenage Cancer Trust that you're raising money for. It's like £100 in an envelope, because she'd heard what I was doing on the radio that morning.
Wow.
And it's like, that's the kind of recognition you can get. You think, actually, that makes a difference, right?
That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows like that you're really getting through to people on these platforms.
It is, and it's a wonderful thing, when you're able to make that difference, not only for yourself but for other people as well.
Oh my God, that's it. Because it's not even about just the people watching, is it? Or just the people reading. It's everybody in their lives and the future generations. Oh, it's mind blowing how far it can go. Like it just blows my mind.
It's fabulous. And you can have other conversations with people where they say, oh, I read this article that you were saying this, and actually I know I've done this in my life. And it's great. You think, brilliant. So you might not necessarily be working directly with me, but you've kind of read what's happened. It's kind of motivated you to make a difference in your own life, which is going to add to your longevity. It's going to make those years of your life so much more enjoyable, because we are like sleepwalking ourselves into a point where medical science is great for extending lifespan, but actually we're going to get to a point where, do you want to live the life at the end of your life?
Exactly.
Yeah. So if we can be there to help people actually keep moving, to actually do things that help, that by the time they get to that point, they've got still so much life left in them that they love what they're doing. That's just brilliant.
It really, really is. So just to finish off, Martin, what would you say to somebody who wanted to get more visible with PR? Like what would you say about your experience to them?
And I think anybody who wants to get experience with PR, I think first of all, just join the Dauntless PR and go through their course. Just learn what it is that you need to do, because just getting that ground knowledge of understanding what's involved is so important. It's just like anything in life. You can't really delegate to somebody else until you actually understand what you're delegating. And I think once you've kind of got that rich experience and that knowledge behind you, then the conversations you're going to have further on, it's just going to be fabulous. So whether you then decide to continue to do that on your own, or whether you decide to again work with you and the team directly so you guys can do the work, I mean, makes life a lot easier, then that becomes a conscious choice. But rather than then abdicating responsibility and then sometimes grumbling about some of the responses, you're delegating responsibility and you become a partner in that process. And that's where really the magic can happen, because then you feed in with knowledge as opposed to being just throwing bombs over the bombs over the wall.
Thank you, Martin. You've shared such gold today. Thank you for coming on. Just before we go, where can people find you?
So if you want to get in touch with me or just have a conversation, then email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. That's probably the quickest and easiest way. If you want to find us on the socials, just look for sharpfitforlife.com. We're just all over it with this. Makes life easier, doesn't it?
Thank you, Martin. And to anyone tuning in, I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.